Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing the Line. We've got a few stories here to have a look at today, starting with the US and Iran war has apparently, for now, come to an end. Trump has announced that the Strait of Hormuz is about to reopen, and they have made a peace deal, which they will sign, and hopefully the fuel prices will drop. We've also got a story coming up about Pauline Hanson and One Nation's new massive poll resurgence, and maybe we'll touch on a couple of things that are pushing people towards One Nation, and we might even, if we've got time, we'll have a look at the tragic death of Oliver Tree that has been announced today in a helicopter crash. And we'll have a look at Donald Trump's UFC Freedom 250, the massive event in the US state of Washington, right in front of the White House. And maybe it'll go ahead, maybe it won't go ahead, depending on the weather at this present time, apparently. But we've got a few stories to get into, so we'll get straight into the first one here. Peace deal between US and Iran announced with Strait of Hormuz expected to reopen. This is from The Guardian. Agreement was struck despite an Israeli strike on Lebanon on Sunday that drew criticism from both Iran and Trump. Peace deal between the US and Iran has been reached following nearly 4 months of fighting in the region. Far out, it's been 4 months already. Donald Trump and the senior Iran officials have said Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Kazim Garibati confirmed that agreement on televised comments in the early hours of Monday, saying it puts an immediate end to the country's war, and that included Lebanon. The precise terms of the deal are not immediately known. However, in a statement posted to Truth Social Sunday evening, the US president announced the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, as well as a removal of the US naval blockade. Ships of the world, start your engines, let the oil flow, Trump said in a celebratory post. He later clarified the opening of the strait would be contingent upon signing the deal on Friday, which mediator Pakistan said would take place in Geneva for purposes of mine removal. However, Iran's Mir State said the news reported the memorandum of understanding agreed the US calls for the reopening of the strait within 30 days under Iranian arrangements. Now, even if that strait opens up today and the oil starts flowing back and forth without any hindrance, it's still going to take months for those fuel prices here in Australia and around the world to go down, and they'll never will truly go back to where they were, because anytime they can get a chance to increase the price of fuel, they're going to take it, especially if it's not costing them that much, which in turn has turned up the price of groceries, pretty much everything here in Australia. It is pretty rough at the moment with, people are taking a very, having to work extra hours just to put fuel in the car, which, means you're spending more money getting to and from work every day. So it's really biting us in the arse here in Australia. And I'm sure around the world, but I don't know about... I know that a lot of people are struggling at the moment here in Australia, and we are pretty much over our government. We'll get into that in the next story, but this fuel crisis thing and housing crisis here, it's all adding up, and it's fuel to the fire, and it's eventually going to spark. Something's going to set it off, and I think the voters here in Australia are ready for something new, but we'll get into that next story. Following intensive talks, we are pleased to announce that the peace deal between the US and the Islamic Republic of Iran has been reached. Sharif posted on X signing ceremony of the peace agreement to be expected to take place on the 19th of June in Switzerland. It's insane that they're actually going to go ahead with this. And this isn't just coming from Trump, this is coming from both parties and the Pakistani mediator as well. So it's just not Trump bloviating on Twitter or on Truth Social. This is actually, accredited to all sources are saying that they've made a peace deal. So that, that hopefully, as long as Israel doesn't stick their fucking big Jewish nose in it and start bombing schools or something like that, which is, in their wheelhouse, we might actually have a peace deal on the table. Trump has called for restraint on Sunday after Israel launched fresh airstrikes in Beirut. See, here we go again. as mediators sought to reach preliminary peace deal to definitively end the 3-month war in the Middle East. Trump has previously suggested the US could sign an agreement with Iran on Sunday, but as the evening came in the Middle East, there was no sign of breakthrough. Instead, Iranian officials threatened a military response to the Israeli attack on Beirut, which destroyed a building in Lebanese capital southern suburbs, killing 3 and injuring 6. Trump earlier told Axios news site that the Israeli strike had delayed the signing by a few hours, and he said that it told the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu he had no effing judgment. I mean, if they do not start cutting ties with Israel over all this, I don't know if they ever will. I mean, Trump is really over Netanyahu. I mean, I think the Israeli people are over Netanyahu as well. I'm sure... his reign is coming to an end. He was on his way out before the the massacre that took place in Israel from Gaza, and it seems to be that's the only thing that really saved him. Conspiracy theories, put your tinfoil hats on here, but I don't know if his days might be numbered now. I mean, if Trump is swearing at him and telling people, doing it in public, not just behind closed doors. I'm sure they have, vastly differing opinions behind closed doors. But if they're, publicising how much they're upset with him, and the rest of the world really has no time for Israel or Netanyahu, and he's even got bloody warrants out for his arrest in a lot of countries. I don't think his time, is going to be. I don't think he's going to be around that much longer. Whether he steps down or whether they remove him, I don't know. Israel's a weird one because you've got the Israel First movement of the Jews saying that basically they can do whatever they want and whatever they do, no one it's okay because of the Holocaust and the things that people have done to them, what we do, whatever. Then you've got the the crazy nut jobs that think the Jews run the entire world, and it's always the little guy, the guys with the little hats digging tunnels through New York. It's always them. They're always up to something, but kind of in the middle ground of both of that. Like, I mean, if Israel gets attacked by someone, they have the right to defend themselves, especially what happened after October or whatever it is. I'm forgetting dates. We've got 9/11, we've got January 6th, we've got all these horrible things that happened apparently. Forgetting what dates they are, but it's defend yourself, but down to the point where you're massacring tens of thousands of children. I don't think that's defending yourself at that point, and we all know why they're doing it. It's they're just trying to take the land and whatever. But I kind of get it, but I'm sick of this shit affecting us here in Australia. Like, it has nothing to do with us, and then we're getting attacks at Bondi Beach because some fucking idiot and in Iran and or wherever they come from, some idiot in the Middle East has decided that shooting Jews on Australian beaches is something to do. But none of this shit really should affect us here in Australia, but it does because it always boils over, and these people have there are no borders when it comes to religious conflicts apparently. So, the quicker this ends, the better. And I'm sick of, honestly, hearing about it. I'm sick of talking about it. I really, same with the Ukraine war. I've got nothing to do with this. You guys help yourselves. Leave us out of it. But, apparently not. Israel said it target senior Hezbollah commanders and said the militant Islamist organization, which has close links to Iran, launched 3 projectiles into northern Israel. A strike on Beirut by Israeli forces a week ago triggered a short but intense new round of fighting between Iran and Israel, momentarily disabling negotiations between Tehran and Washington. Mohammed Bagir Gebalif, whatever it is, a lead negotiator from Tehran, Iran's parliamentary speaker, wrote on Sunday X, saying that Israeli strikes on Beirut showed America either lacks or the will to fulfill its commitments or the ability to do so, warning that the strikes could imperil talks. Gen Mohammed Jafar Asadi, deputy commander of Iran's Joint Command Task Headquarters, said the crimes will not go unanswered. According to the official Mazan news agency, Iran's foreign ministry said that the US held responsible for Israeli attacks in Lebanon and warned of strong response. Iran's top joint military commander added, "The finger is on the trigger, and we're ready to fire at the enemy's heart." Yeah, Iran talks a lot of shit, and they have nothing to back it up with, especially now after they've just been decimated. But with that aside, the opening of the Strait of Hormuz is only going to be a good thing for us. It's going to be a good thing for the rest of the world because it just shows, it'll be able to get that oil pumping back out, and it really goes to show that we should not have that much dependency on other countries, especially countries that are so volatile. Australia is a very large, very desolate place with a very small population, and we don't have a very big GDP to show for it. All of our resources here in Australia, we do have enough of them to self-sustain, but we do not have the will or the want or the integrity in government to actually do that. So hopefully this crisis hopefully it's coming to an end, and hopefully that our Australian people realise that maybe we should start taking care of ourselves. Maybe we should start spending our money here, and maybe we should start creating jobs here and industries back in Australia instead of offloading it over to China. Who is our enemy, by the way? I mean, we sell them everything, we buy everything from them, and they want us dead. So, whatever. Maybe we should start doing shit here at home. What do you guys think anyway? All right, so we'll move on to our next story. Reality bites. Gen X are poorer, less likely to own a home, and are now turning towards One Nation. Now, One Nation has seen a massive boost in the polls lately, overtaking Anthony Albanese for the preferred Prime Minister for the first time by quite a bit. 33% want Pauline Hanson to be our Prime Minister. So you know what? At the end of the day, that's not going to happen. It would be fantastic if it did happen, but it's not going to. I mean, we're not... I have zero faith in the Australian voter. I have zero faith in the Australian people at this point, because it just goes to show, I mean, how many times we keep voting in morons into government, and people just go, oh, well, this one lied to me, and I'll just vote for him again because now they promised me, what was it, Kevin Rudd's $700? Oh, they just promised me something new, so I'll vote for him again, even though they lied to me and screwed me over the last time. Hopefully, the next generations coming up are going to figure it out, but Gen X are obviously the first ones to figure out that life ain't a box of roses, and the boomers are hitting the mortality shelf. Now that means the boomers are dying off in mass amounts of numbers, and they are, slowly heading that way. So the economy that has been driven towards the boomer generation here in Australia, with retirement homes, even things down to they don't cater for families anywhere anymore. They cater towards old people, because old people are a massive number in the public number of people. They own a percentage of the money that they seem to not want to give up and not want to hand down to their kids. They just kind of want to spend it all and then turn around and flip everyone off before they die. I mean, they inherited the best economy in the world. They inherited the best stock market in the world. They inherited the best housing market in the world, and they have squandered it. They sit there in their home and they cry and bitch and whinge every time someone cuts their pension or doesn't, just give them money for nothing. But they have worked apparently their entire lives, and they still can't retire without a pension. I don't get it. I know some people fall on hard times and stuff happens, but these people have owned 2 to 3 homes, even just 2 to 3 homes, and sold them, and they just really shit with their money. It's not our fault that they'll shit with their money and they go and decide to buy, ornate dolls and crap like that and waste their money. Well, they're going to be worth something someday. No, Gladys, they're not. That's not our fault as the millennial generation or the Gen Xers here. But, the boomers seem to hate every other generation, and they think that they did something. The amount of times I've had an argument, generally on Facebook, with a boomer, where they say, my parents fought in the war. And it's like, yes, congratulations. What did you fucking do? Nothing. Oh, you inherited that from your parents, all their parents' hard work, and now you say, my parents fought in the war. Congratulations, yes. This is not all boomers, by the way, but this is a vast majority of the ones that sit on Facebook and argue with me. It's pretty much stolen valor at that point. They say that their parents had a hard time, so you don't know what it's like growing up. You got the internet and blah blah blah. Yeah, but the internet's been out for 20-something odd year, nearly 30, be 30 years now? Really, the internet? But everyone's had a mobile phone for 15, 20, 20 years. More than 20 years now. Seriously. And you guys are too reluctant to, use that bit of technology. People in World War One, when they started getting rid of horses and they started lapping up cars, everyone learned how to drive, didn't they? They didn't just go, no, I just can't possibly. You can learn how to use a phone, Bob. I mean, seriously. Technology's not that hard, and they cater towards you anyway, so it's not that hard. But we'll get into this story here from The Guardian yet again. Reality bites. Gen X are poorer, less likely to own a home, and now turning towards One Nation. Australians in their 40s and 50s are struggling with low wages growth, rising inequality, and falling rates of home ownership, and many are feeling left behind. After a decade after Brexit and Donald Trump's first election victory, Australia is having its own populist movement while the economy overall largely sailed unscathed through the turbulent 21st century. Compounding crises have left a deep scar on a growing number of households. Instead of being powered by disgruntled younger folk thirsty for change, the driving force has been a generation that has mostly sailed quietly through the recent decades of compounding crises. Stereotypically disengaged from politics and reluctant to make a scene, Generation X are now mostly in their 50s and generally making themselves heard. They are not happy. One Nation's ascent over the last year is nothing short of extraordinary. The party scored 6.4% of the primary vote in May 2025 election. By October, the party's primary vote had nationally doubled to 13%, according to the Essential poll. One Nation's popularity has since doubled again, now sits at 28%, only 1 point behind Labor. The grievances that have driven voters towards One Nation have coalesced among people in their 50s, where support peaks over 43% among Gen Xers, according to the polling by Redbridge. Experts refer to Gen X as a sandwich generation, having to provide for older parents and younger children. They face a swath of economic challenges, including far lower home ownership, watching the rich get richer as they struggle with low wages growth, and they have many feeling left behind. It's the environment of unique issues stretching people from their 40s to the 50s, which experts say could be driving Gen Xers towards what were once the fringes of politics. 100% it's the economy. Wesley Jasper didn't need to think about it, asking why he intends to vote for One Nation. The economy. 100% the economy, he says. Where does my money go in taxes? How does it benefit me? And the living standards. What can we do for people like me who've worked hard my whole life? Let's raise the living standards a little bit, shall we? Or let's improve standards for the people who choose to go out and do the right thing. Jasper had a long career in the military, now works for a government organisation. Him and his partner worked to bring kids up in Canberra. They love everything about it. We have moved back to Ballarat because it's more affordable. The wife and I, in the last 10 to 15 years or so, both came out of previous relationships. He said, we're living and working in Canberra, so we're trying to pay high rent, that sort of stuff. We both kind of lost everything. We scraped and we saved and we came back to Ballarat because financially it made sense. We are now mortgage holders. Jasper describes himself as a long-time listener, first-time caller to One Nation. He has always been a swinging voter, but this year he signed up to the member of the party. At the end of the day, I worked 35 years. I'm kind of feeling I'm not getting the value for money or what I've done, he says. I've really got not much to show, and that hurts because there are people who are being able to retire, and I'm still probably 10 to 15 years away. If he's only 10 to 15 years away of retiring at that age, I'd find it hard to believe anyway. I mean, I do not see the point where myself and my partner will be able to retire within life expectancy. I don't see it. People my age, 30 onwards, before 30 to 40 years old, I don't see people being able to retire at all. Our super keeps getting decimated every year. We do not make enough money to, I've got a good paying job. But the only reason it's a good paying job is because I do so many hours. Which, it doesn't really give you a net benefit at the end of the day, because the more hours you work, it puts you in a high tax bracket, which means they tax it more. And anytime they actually do increase the minimum wage or the wage, that just puts you closer to the higher tax bracket because they don't increase those tax brackets. So somewhere, what was it when I was younger, I remember getting my tax and it was like, I earned $50,000 for the year. And I was like, wow, I can't believe I've earned $50,000. That's probably like a Centrelink wage now? I don't know how much, I don't know. I haven't been on Centrelink in a very long time since I was homeless. But I can't see how even earning more money is going to help, because it just disappears in tax. If you earn, 120 grand, you're getting, nearly half of that taxed, and that's just what you pay out of to the ATO. It doesn't necessarily, go into if you're buying alcohol, tobacco, fuel, all those taxes, and then whatever Woolworths and Coles are taking, because they take so much of our money here in Australia. Unless, your minimum wage was $50 an hour, I don't see people getting ahead and actually having enough money for savings. And, that's if you don't have, a health issue where you have to take time off work, and they say, healthcare's free in Australia. No, it's not. How much tax do you pay? Do you think it's free? It's not free. We're paying tax for fucking, nearly 50% of our wage goes to tax. At the end of the day, I think it's like 42% or something like that of every dollar we earn goes to tax. It's insane. And it's only getting worse. And this is why people are so upset. We can't even rent a home or buy a home here in Australia. And, families with two, full-time jobs are earning as much as they can, but they're still homeless because they can't afford to pay, $700 to $1,000 a week rent, or there's just not the homes available. We're not the lucky country. We're a third world country at that point. The Orange Tsunami. Academic studies have found a powerful causal link between growing economic pessimism and Australia's extraordinary shift between the major parties following the independent, now populist alternatives. Samaras, I don't know. Redbridge's director of strategy and analytics said, therefore, the latest surge in the support for the typical One Nation voter was in the 50s and 60s, living in a home they were close to paying off. They were worried about deteriorating services and a community in decline. Lots of status anxiety, but financially not doing too bad, Samaras said. The Redbridge polling suggests One Nation's overall primary vote is now at 31%, against Labor's 28%. The new support is swelling One Nation's base, a much broader consistency. He says the group is younger, in their 40s and 50s, renting out of the outer suburbs and the outer regions, not owning a home in your 50s, or a source in deep despondency, Samaras said. Or they have a mortgage, they have borrowed at the edge of their capacities when rates were low. Analysis of ABS data shows major rise in renting among those aged between the mid-40s and mid-50s, from 12% to 21% over the nearly 3 decades. It's because there aren't that many homes to buy. The boomers haven't died off in drastic numbers enough yet to release these homes to the younger generations. They're holding on to them until they are literally in the ground. And then we're bringing in too many people into this country. We cannot support the amount of people in this country. I know my local town cannot even build a garbage dump, a tip big enough for the town, because we've had a massive influx of people and we just don't have the money in reserves to build a big enough rubbish dump, basically, at this point. And that means they're going to increase rates, they're going to increase taxes, and they're going to they're just going to start gouging money out of people wherever they can get it. Meat and the sandwich. Terry Ronsley's an urban economist of the KPMG says Gen X are the classic sandwich generation, squeezed between older boomer parents in the 70s and 80s and the kids who are still at home facing their own generational challenges. But Ronsley says today's crop of Australian aged between the late 40s and early 60s are contending with said economic challenges that are particular to them. It also points to the fact that home ownership among the Gen X are much lower than their parents at this age, while the lucky ones who do their own home do have their own home, a much bigger debt than their parents would have had, and are operating in a more uncertain economic environment. Back when the boomers were buying homes, they could buy a home for $25,000, or say even $75,000 on the high end, $75,000 or $100,000 on the high end, and their wages were a quarter of that a year. So within 8 years, generally, if you lived off half your wage, you could pay it off your home. It's now a 30 to 60 year mortgage. People are looking at emigrating overseas and moving to places like Bali, Thailand, Sri Lanka. I know a person moving to Sri Lanka because they cannot afford to live here in Australia, and the money that they do earn here is the offset. It can be a decent amount of money, but it just doesn't go anywhere. If you've got $10, you used to be able to put $10 of fuel in your car and that'd do you for the day. $10 will get you, to and back from town at this point. People just do not have enough money, and that everything is too expensive. If you go shopping, I don't even know how people shop at Woolworths. I go shopping at Woolworths with work quite a bit. Not my money, don't care. Still try to budget everything, make sure it's as cheap as possible. I cannot understand how the everyday person goes shopping at Woolworths. The price of that everything there, compared to even just Coles, I know Coles isn't much better, but it is better than Woolworths, is insane. We shop at Aldi, we shop at Coles when we have to. Honestly, I do not see how people shop at Woolworths. If you're shopping at Woolworths, you'd be grab 4 bags of groceries, 4 of those shitty paper bags, so you can't put much in them. That'd be $300. If you're buying meat, yeah, $300. If you get a trolley full, I don't even see people getting trolley fulls of food anymore. I remember when we were kids, and mind you, we had 9 kids in the house at one point. Mum didn't even have a job, and she was still able to load the trolley until it was overflowing with food, and it wasn't like junk food and shit like that. Like, we did not get that when we were kids. It was all home brand. It was all, black and gold, that kind of thing. It was cheap cuts of meat when lamb was actually cheap. I actually bought steak the other day. No, sorry, it was a roast pork was cheaper than buying a roast lamb with the bone in. So it was cheaper to buy 3 times the amount of pork than it was to buy the lamb, and the lamb had a bone in it. What the fuck? Lamb used to be the cheap meat. And we were that poor when we were growing up that my father actually had to go out and shoot rabbits so we could eat rabbit. I mean, we'd go to places like Vinnie's, Lifeline, things like that. We grew up poor. And I don't know whether it's the Aboriginal in me, but a bit of Keen's curry powder goes a long way when you're poor and you've got no food. A bit of Keen's curry powder in the fucking mince, go a long way with a cabbage. Just saying, cheap meals out there. You've got to try some Aboriginal cuisine. Australians are really over it. They are hopefully going to go to the polls, and hopefully they're going to vote for One Nation or even the other independent parties, but hopefully for One Nation. They will not get in to be Prime Minister, but, I mean, I wouldn't be upset if they did. I'd be as happy as hell, and I don't see it happening. But the more people that are pissed off, and the more people that vote for One Nation or even the other parties, it's really going to scare the other 2 major parties, Labor and Liberal, will actually, button up and say that, hey, I think the Australians are pretty much over it and they don't want to take our shit anymore. I ain't going to hold my breath, but have a look at this one. Pauline Hanson takes over Albanese as a preferred Prime Minister. Exclusive fresh polling reveals One Nation leader Pauline Hanson's surge to becoming the nation's preferred Prime Minister for the very first time, shattering decades of major party dominance. Resolve political monitor the Sydney Morning. Could you just imagine Albo waking up in the morning and he sees this headline? He would absolutely lose it. He'd be sputtering. He would, oh my God. He'd be like, Jodie, have you seen the news? They think that red-headed woman is going to be Prime Minister. He would be spitting chips, and I am here for it. Resolve the political monitor of the Sydney Morning Herald of the Age found Pauline Hanson is now the first choice for the top job. Her party One Nation has inched ahead of Labor primaries, recording its lowest ever result. Hanson is now planning to leverage this surge in popularity using donations to the party to launch a television ad blitz during Wednesday night's State of Origin. At the end of March, new polling pegged One Nation as the most popular party in the country, leapfrogging Labor in primary support. The latest Australian Financial Review Redbridge Group Asset Research poll revealed primary support for One Nation has jumped 4 percentage points to 31% since pre-budget poll a month ago. The budget has really upset a lot of Labor voters. I mean, Albo lied through his teeth, his lispy little teeth, with his jowls that he has. He lied and said that he wasn't going to do any of the crap that he's done. Capital gains tax, any tax that he said, oh no, we're not going to do any taxes. I'll just vote for me and I'll get rid of your HEX debt. Lied. He, lawyer, elbow on fire. And the latest Australian Financial Review, here it is. Hanson promises to air her Fire the Liar commercials during primetime rugby league game before flying the same messages above the biggest cities. Now, I can't wait to see that. look on Albo's face, I know he's really upset about it because he can't really hide his feelings very well. He's a sad little troll, and I'm glad that, honestly, I don't care who has he has done such a bad job. He has done such a bad job with this. He should be fired. We should be marching on Parliament House and demanding his resignation. Peacefully, of course, and all legally. And non-violently, of course. Anyway, hopefully Australia realises that we actually have a chance here to get rid of Labor and Liberal and get a third party into some sort of seating of power. I don't think they'll take the top spot, but we might just get enough of them where we can, have the third wheel, kind of just have someone else's voice in the room to say, hey guys, no, we don't want the digital ID. And no, we don't want to trans the 13-year-old kids. I'm sorry. No, I don't want you to send $50 million to the Taliban. Penny. While One Nation's also ahead of Labor and the Polls coalition is most strife in the distant third, I think these campaigns come in and they go. They all run them. Health Minister Mark Butler said they're actually not interested in fighting the coalition. They want to take over the coalition. However, Shadow Defence Industry Minister Phil Thompson said that if One Nation is serious about the change, they need more than ads. Yes, it's true. It's very true. We actually need more people. We need better people. People like Malcolm Roberts, Barnaby. Take him or leave him. I really wish people like Gerard Rennick would fold in and join One Nation. There's others out there as well, but the independents, if they had a little bit more backing and they had a little... I mean, get over your little tiffs, guys. Like Gerard Rennick would be fantastic in any sort of... I wouldn't care. If he was in Labor, I'd be happy because he'd be there working to, cut costs to the Australian taxpayer. And he's an intelligent, very smart man. And I wish he would get over his... I suppose it's all politicians at the end of the day. I wish he'd get over his hatred or, distrust of this. If there is a chance that he could just join One Nation somehow and, I don't know, find a position in there, that'd be fantastic. I mean, we need all the help we can get. If you guys truly do love Australia and want it best for Australians, I think doing something like that, making their own coalition or something like that. I don't know how it works. I don't know how it would work, but just get on the same ticket, guys. Like, come on. You just want the same things. You have a slight disagreement over some sort of budgeting thing or something that someone said and you just throw it all out. I don't get it. The Americans do the same thing. If Trump says one thing that they don't like, what was the last election in the US? Trump said something about... it was abortion. Yeah, it was like abortion, he didn't want to ban it or something like that. And all the extreme Christian right were like, well, I'm not voting for Trump. I'm going to vote for Kamala. It's like, how does that help anyone? Voting for Kamala, she'll make abortion mandatory. That stupid woman would, oh my God, I can't imagine voting for that. And the Christians were like, oh, well, these are, not all of them, obviously, but they're like, oh, well, we're just going to vote for Kamala now because he didn't do that one thing that we want. I mean, we do it here. It's insane. I don't get it. All this talk about preference deals and coalitions are way too premature and is in fact not relevant. Our job is to win back the votes we lost, he said. Leadership changes earlier this year at the point in time where I thought I've had enough. While Labor won't welcome Pauline Hanson's decision to preferred PM, it's a double whammy for Angus Taylor, losing a trusted pair of hands and effectively losing the claim to call himself the de facto opposition leader. Pauline Hanson is now the opposition leader here in Australia. That's fantastic news. Hats off to her. I mean, I don't know whether it's got something to do with the cartoon or the people she surrounds herself with, but she is really kicking it out of the park at this time and going on podcasts and talking to guys, like blue collar people, and going on like Two Worlds Collide podcast and going on, what are those other guys? Sorry, I forget their names. Going on those podcasts and talking to everyday Australians and you wouldn't see Albo doing that. He'd have some sort of thing with Grace Tame or something like that. Where he's like, oh, well, me and Jody just love our new house that we bought with the Australian taxpayer money. Hats off to her. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. watch this space with Pauline Hanson. Anyway, moving on. We'll go over it now. US musician Oliver Tree, 32, killed in helicopter crash in Brazil. Now, Oliver Tree, if you don't know who he is, you've probably heard some of his songs, maybe like TikTok famous kind of songs. It's quite weird that he's found out that he's dead. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a fake publicity stunt coming from this guy, but I don't really want to say that in case he is dead, which he might very well be. I mean, there is footage of the helicopter crashing, and I didn't really like him. I thought he was a bit weird, very American, very stupid. But I mean, he's a weird, quirky kind of dude, weird, quirky kind of musician. But I have seen reports that he was worried for his safety with upsetting some record labels in the US. So I don't know, but we'll see what goes on there. But this is fresh out today. This has just happened today. The American musician Oliver Tree has died in a helicopter crash in Brazil at the age of 32, according to reports. 2 helicopters collided over Rio de Janeiro on Sunday morning and have crashed in the city's western zone, killing all 6 people on board, including Tree. Several Brazilian media outlets reported Rio de Janeiro's military fire department and said one of the helicopters crashed on a car dealership where several electric vehicles were parked, igniting a fire that was extinguished. Officials said investigation was underway to determine the cause of the collision. Tree, 32, who was in Brazil on a world tour, was aboard one of his helicopters that crashed, leaving all the occupants dead, the police told AFP. The alternative singer and the internet personality was listed as one of 6 people on the manifest of the 2 aircraft shared by the source, who said that the victims could not be formally identified as they were badly burned in the crash. The passengers alongside the singer included Brazilian music producer, Argentine video director, Argentine YouTube, Gaspar Prim, known online as Gaspy. The helicopters collided mid-air in the western suburb of Recife, wherever that is, before plummeting to the ground before car park for an electric car dealership, setting ablaze about 20 cars, according to firefighters. One of the helicopters was carrying 5 people, but the other one only the pilot. There were no survivors. Tree had a distinctive bowl haircut and internet persona. Was known for songs including Life Goes On, Miss You, and Alien Boy. He has more than 11 million monthly listeners on Spotify, with his top songs listened to more than 700 million times. He was due to play more than 70 shows across 30 countries on 7 continents during his world tour. He performed in Buenos Aires, Argentina on June 4th. On Saturday, he shared a video on Instagram playing football in a Brazilian neighbourhood. 2024, he was nominated for International Song Brit Award alongside the German producer Robin Schulz for the song Miss You. The track peaked at number 3 in the UK singles chart. In 2020, he broke the Guinness World Record for the largest kick scooter at 4.16 metres tall and 3.13 metres long. According to the Guinness World Record website, feat was achieved to fulfill a lifelong dream. That's sad. I mean, his songs were pretty catchy. It's sad to see that he's died and all these other people have died. I don't know the other YouTubers there, but that's pretty heart-wrenching. I'm wondering whether they hired the best pilots or what happened there. We have history of helicopter crashes here in Australia. A place called Dreamworld. Yeah, not good for helicopters. Probably won't catch me up in one anytime soon. Just saying. But that's sad to see. It's Oliver Tree, and it's just out today. But we'll move on to some lighter news. We got the lefties crying. Democrats are screaming and wailing and doing their usual tantrums. Donald Trump is hosting the Freedom 250 at the White House with the MMA card for Trump's 80th birthday, and we have some live updates here. Weather is not looking good. So we've got a massive fight night. They've just had Nitro Circus doing backflips there. Got Dana White there with Donald Trump, and the lefties are melting down. But this is when you're a kid and you're imagining the US. I mean, this is what you imagine. This is, you close your eyes and you think, what is the US? What is, even George Bush days when he was on the aircraft carrier saying, job done, that kind of crap. This is what you imagine. This is the US. This is, it's a bit Hunger Games, but, it's pretty cool. I reckon it's pretty cool. And, you can see the lefties are losing it. It's, which is the best part of this, honestly. I mean, we've got the octagon in front of the White House, guys. I mean, this is a... If this is a... what do they call it? If this is all a, AI computer-generated program that we're all living in, I'm here for it. Some of this shit is fun. I mean, look at the photos we're getting. Dana's looking a little chubby. Just saying, Dana, you're having too many fun games there, buddy. You might need to, get into some sort of boot camp. But we'll read this story here from the New York Post. Leftists throw a tantrum over the White House UFC bout, but that's not their real gripe, apparently. I'm sure this will be written by a woke leftist Democratic moron, but yeah, here we go. We'll dive in. Last week, when I was honoured to attend the dinner at the White House Rose Garden, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavo gestured beyond the starry-eyed guests towards a massive arched dome that was rising above the South Lawn. UFC next week. That's pretty awesome. He joked. That Sunday spectacle celebrating the boasted nation's 250th birthday and Donald Trump's 80th. He's thinking about keeping that. I'm sure no heads will explode on that one. Everyone laughed. Outside the White House, though, plenty of hair was already on fire. Hillary Clinton... I forgot about Hillary Clinton. Raged on X. This is what Trump's done to the people's house. A third of it is rubble and the other third is a cage match. What a metaphor. What's next? Cockfighting, dogfighting, spluttered Rep Don Breyer. It's such a sacrilege to the White House. You guys had titless trannies bouncing around on the front lawn. Shut up. You had... What's his name? Hunter Biden smuggling cocaine and crack into the White House. Shut up about... What are you talking? Sacrilege. You had topless trannies showing their tits on the front of the White House lawn. Just saying, guys. Just saying. A leftist non-profit even filed a lawsuit to block the proceeding, characterizing him as fundamentally a corrupt use of the most sacred national monuments. As I sat there that evening, surrounded by centuries of American history, I couldn't help but contemplate the striking contrast. The White House on one side, the octagon on the other. Too many in the political and cultural establishment, it apparently feels like an invasion. To me, it felt uniquely American. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The controversy isn't about mixed martial arts, but about who gets to decide what counts as American culture. Notice that few critics are debating security, logistics, or cost. The real objection is something else entirely. Taste, who gets to define it. For decades, a relatively small group of gatekeepers decided that counted as respectable and acceptable in American culture. They chose the celebrities, then the entertainers. They chose the athletes that deserve admiration and which should be dismissed as unworthy of serious attention. They have determined those whose taste mattered, theirs. For the much of the 20th century, the system worked enforced by 3 TV networks, a handful of newspapers, and a smattering of Hollywood studios and record labels. But now the audience has seized the remote control. This is actually pretty right-wing, whoever wrote this, sees the remote control. A podcaster today can command a larger audience than a network anchor. The UFC champion can have greater cultural reach than a movie star. Where you're getting information, entertainment, and inspiration from sources the traditional gatekeepers neither control nor fully understand. President Trump recognized the shift long before most politicians did. This is where I think Pauline's coming in great. She's figured out the shift as well. While others sought the validation from Hollywood and the established institution, Trump built relationships with entrepreneurs, athletes, podcasters, personalities who speak directly to millions of Americans. The result is that many Americans look at the UFC fight card on the White House lawn and think that sounds like fun. That's what I'm saying, man. He just wants to hang out with Kid Rock and watch people fight and on the front lawn for his birthday. Leave the man alone. The disconnect tells us far more about the establishment than it does the UFC. After all, presidents have long blended politics and pop culture. John F. Kennedy had Marilyn Monroe sing him happy birthday. Yeah, we all remember that. Ronald Reagan celebrated with Frank Sinatra. I'm sure he didn't do anything naughty there. Barack Obama sucked on... Barack Obama White House invited performers from Aretha Franklin to Kendrick Lamar and the cast of Hamilton to serenade him. God, that's gay. He could have had Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent or something, for God's sakes. He ain't from the hood. Big Mike is, though. One of the most famous photographs of presidential history isn't of a summit or a treaty signing. It's Richard Nixon shaking hands with Elvis Presley in the Oval Office. At the time, many considered the pair unusual, yet no one suggested their meeting in the Republic in danger, putting in the Republic in danger. The difference isn't the spectacle, but the audience. Those now objecting so ferociously to the perfectly comfortable when America's cultural institution reflected their preference and values. It's all about their preferences. What unsettles them is realizing that millions of Americans no longer take their edicts into account. That's why this event feels to them so threatening. Not because it's unprecedented or inappropriate, but because it's popular. That's fucking right on the head with that one. They found themselves shut out of culture because they no longer understand, and all they can think to do is vainly demand that everyone else returns to their rules. For weeks, the critics have treated UFC's arrival in Washington as though barbarians were gathering at the gates, but perhaps they have it backwards. The fighters aren't the invaders besieging the citadel. Neither are the fans who follow them or the millions of Americans who tune in to enjoy the show. It's the elites who still believe they get to decide what counts as culture that they are on the outside of looking in. Fantastic story. That is the best New York Post story I've ever read, honestly. Alan... Rick Schaffen? Yeah. Mein Führer. Anyway... That was a fantastic... That's my point. That is America. You see that image there. That's what you imagine America. Like Team America soundtrack in the background. We got Eagle flying over. Like Marilyn Monroe hanging off a big American flag underneath the helicopter. Police beating up minorities. That's what we want in America. That is what the rest of the world expects. And what we get from that here in Australia is generally safety. China ain't going to step foot in here. We need something like that here in Australia. I mean, we'd have meat pies and sausage sizzles, maybe in a Bunnings. What would we have? We wouldn't have fighting out the front. Well, we'd have a footy match, wouldn't we? We'd have the Origin, State of Origin, right on the front lawn of Parliament House in Canberra. And... we could have some, kangaroos milling about, maybe some, I don't know. We'd have Robert Irwin bloody introducing it. It wouldn't be Dana White and Donald Trump. It'd be Pauline Hanson and Robert Irwin. Maybe the characters from Bluey, even though that's been sold off to the BBC and we make absolutely no money of it. Thank you, ABC, you stupid people. But it would be fantastic to see if we had something like that here in Australia, if we are actually proud of our heritage. I mean, if you have ever been to Canberra, you've ever been to Parliament House, directly across from that in a straight line is the War Memorial, the Canberra War Memorial, and it looks at Parliament House. We need something that shows what Australia really is. We are a multicultural place, but it's not the way that they're selling it to us as. We should be accepting of other people coming in here, but those people have to accept us when they come here, and they have to become Australian. A lot of them do. I talk to them every day. A lot of them do. But those ones are getting pushed out as well because they're conforming to Australian society. They're having barbecues. They're eating meat pies. They're making fun of the Indian dude at the servo, which is part of our culture. So get over it. It's part and parcel of being Australian to make fun of minorities. I'm sorry. It is what it is, guys. Get over it. It's a joke. It's not a dick. Don't take it so hard. But people who are undermining the Australian culture are the same kind of people undermining the American culture. If this was a different country, if this was Sudan and they had a whole bunch of white people moving into Sudan and saying, hey, we've got to stop building mud huts, guys. We've got to start building fucking two-story brick homes with big white Colosseum-looking pillars and stuff like that, and we've got to stop hacking people's families up with machetes. They'd be like, you're ruining our culture. This is our culture here in Sudan. This is what we do. Stop whiteifying everything. And we'd be like, well, okay, fair enough, because we wouldn't want to be deemed as colonizers or racists. But I think having a bit of patriotism coming back to the White House, besides, definitely better than when they had trans people shaking their tits out there with Biden, and you had Biden going around sniffing kids. I mean, come on. This is the America that they voted for, and this is the America they get. This is freedom. Freedom, baby. Anyway, what do you guys think? Do you reckon we need something like this here in Australia? Maybe if Pauline magically becomes Prime Minister, we could do some sort of, centennial event here in Australia, because that's probably about next time we're gonna have Pauline as a Prime Minister. But what do you guys think anyway? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next episode.